So the vehicles that you have there at the moment, one of the things, having lived in England, I know that you don't have the same sense of sort of suburbia that we have here in sprawled America. You have many homes that are duplexes and very small yards and things like that. So kind of what provisions are you seeing here, or what kind of situations are you seeing for people wanting to buy an electric vehicle? Where are they going to charge them? What are some of those sort of physical issues that are going to confront people as those 300,000 vehicles begin to hit the roads in Britain?
I think you're right. I mean, our surveys showed that around about 41% of those that we questioned, which is over 2,000 people, are actively considering purchasing an EV. And I would suggest that the overwhelming majority of those people who are, out of that 41%, probably live in urban areas, like you suggest, very close communities, whether it's London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, where they have small commutes, which a small vehicle is ideal for them to get back from work and obviously to do their shopping on a weekly basis. Whereas a private residence, you're right, it'd be quite easy with the provision of an electric charging point, but whether it's an apartment block, etc., those challenges are being met, I believe, where you'll find there'll be multiple charging points in and around the locality. We'll have to work very closely with local authorities and town councils in order to put these points in. But where possible, where someone does want an electric vehicle, we should be able to work with that resident and with that local council, local authority, in order to put in a charging point at which they can access. But you're right, it's a very strong challenge for us over here, where we have a close-knit population, which a lot of people do live in apartments, whereby we do need to put in a large number of charging points.
Have you read a report came out recently from Ricardo that talked about some of the options and how the electric vehicle could interface with the grid? I wonder if you've seen that report, if you had any comments on it.
I haven't. There is an option here, I believe, that is it talking about a smart grid, whereby the electric vehicle actually could potentially sell its energy back to the grid if there's anything left over.
That's one possible option. Yeah, vehicle to grid. The other was what they call demand service management, which was another option that they were looking at, which would involve smart meters and that type of thing.
Yeah, very much. There are two options at the moment. I believe there'll be two EV tariffs on the table. Certainly one directly after our one at nPower launches in July. Our one is specifically tailored and designed for those who want an electric vehicle right now and only can afford to purchase an electric vehicle. There are other options available, which we're actively considering as well, whereby solar panels are also introduced. So you would use the solar panel on your property to help you charge your vehicle. And for that, you would need smart meters. Smart metering is very much on the political agenda here in Britain. All energy suppliers are mandated to fit something like 52 million smart meters between 2014 and 2019.
Wow.
Here. It's actually the largest infrastructure project to be undertaken in Britain since World War II.
Wow.
So it's every energy supplier has to visit their customer, enter their property, and put in these new meters. Now, a smart meter here in Britain may be slightly different to what is judged as a smart meter over in the US. From what I understand in the US, and you can correct me here, Bill, the smart meter itself is just the meter that still hides in the garage or underneath the stairs. In Britain, we're mandated to include a display device, so customers can see actively at any given time how much energy they're using and how much it's costing. They'll also see as a minimum function of these display devices when it's off peak, obviously cheap electricity, and when it's on peak, when it's cheap electricity. And the tariff that we're looking to introduce, if we coordinated that with the smart meter, and this again is something we're looking at, you could have time of day tariffs that are across the day. So not just in the evening when everybody's in bed and not everybody's using that much power and the grid is fairly stable, but there are certain other periods throughout the day whereby You can have a break from breakfast between lunch where there's not too much demand on the grid. There's just a steady flow. You can encourage cheaper rates at that point, and you would identify that to your customer through your in-house display unit. This, the second part of the smart meter itself. And again, you could do that for the vehicle itself. So you could actively send a message to the customer if it's a weekend. Again, electricity and gas is cheaper at a weekend, but if it's real cheap in the evenings, you could send a message to that customer to say, hey, don't forget, now's the time to charge up your vehicle, or to remind them to put the vehicle in before they go to bed. So yeah, we're excited about that, but we're not ruling out the possibility of using this technology to actually encourage customers to sell the energy that's still stored in the battery back to the grid, a bit like a solar panel. So if that vehicle knows it requires 4 hours charging time for 100% charge, it knows it needs to charge up from, say, 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. So it knows it's safe to sell that energy within the battery that it has before 3 a.m.
Right.
And then once it's sold that energy or put that energy back into the grid, it knows from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. that it needs to charge up. So our parent company, RW, are actively looking at this as well. I mean, their charging points go beyond just mere delivering electricity.
Right.
They're looking at delivering broadband through these charging points as well. So if you take your family into town on a shopping trip and you have kids with you, and you want to download a 30-minute program for the children to watch on the way back home, you can do that as well. So why should it just stop at electricity? I mean, it could be, broadband, mobile phones, etc., etc.
Yeah, interesting. One of the things, of course, with vehicle to grid is you need to have the ability for that charger to work in reverse, so that it sends it back out into the grid, and that can be managed. And there's been a fair amount of reluctance on the part of the car makers to do that. So are you guys having any luck in your conversations with the Volts and or the Chevys and the General Motors and the Renaults and the Nissans in that respect to get them interested in that?
I think we're still a way off, I have to admit. I'm not sure whether it's the car itself, and you can correct me here, Bill, but it's actually the cable that connects the car to the charging point. And I know that RW in Daimler are doing a lot of work in terms of trying to standardize a 7-pin plug from the vehicle to the charging point. That should, in theory, allow two-way flow of electricity. Okay. So charging point at home, along with that cable, would be able to draw down that energy from the vehicle. So I don't think if we can have a standardized plug which allows that to happen here in Europe, and there are many reasons for having a standardized plug. Obviously, Europeans travel from country to country an awful lot. Europe's quite small compared to the US. So traveling from France to Germany, or from Italy to Germany, or from Britain to France, if you have a standardized plug, then obviously you're safe in the knowledge when battery technology develops or charging technology develops to a point whereby the 100-mile range or 120-mile range now, which is extended, say, to 200 or 300 miles, like the new Tesla, then you're in a better position to charge your vehicle no matter where you are in Europe, because you have the right connection.
Right. From your perspective, there was a recent survey done in Britain that found that about 1/3 of UK car buyers said that they would be interested in buying an electric vehicle as their next purchase. From your perspective, how real do you think that number is? What do you think the real percentage of people that are interested in buying that, and what impact is that going to have on your business?
I think it's very real. Like I said, I mentioned before, in the major cities where you have short commutes, whether it's 30 or 40 miles a day, I think that figure is actually very realistic. I think it could actually go up. Our own survey showed that it could go as high as 41%. Okay. Over the next couple of years. Bill, petrol prices here, as you know, are ridiculously high. They're taxed about 80%. Our figures show that it's 10 times cheaper to charge your vehicle per 100 miles than it is for a petrol equivalent. Right. So the average cost for a 100-mile charge, or rather 12,000 miles for annual mileage, is around about £144. which is what, 100, I don't know, maybe 180, $190.
Yeah.
The petrol equivalent of that is £1,500, maybe even $2,000. You know, so there's huge savings to be had there in terms of that, and people are actively looking at this.